Today we're making pizza Bianca, which is essentially a white pizza.
And a white pizza means the absence of tomato sauce or fresh tomatoes.
So we're going to top our pizza with fresh prosciutto as well as a dressed arugula.
This is one of our students as well as their family's favorite pizzas. So let's begin. Hi, now I'm going to do a couple of things right now. The first thing I'm going to do is we're going to chop some garlic. The garlic is going to go over the pizza Bianca. The other thing I'm going to do after we finish with the garlic is I'm going to prepare the dressing that is going to be going over the arugula at the very end. So let's start with the garlic. We always like to use fresh garlic. We're going to use a couple of cloves. Naturally, sometimes your cloves are very plump. You may use more or less depending on your taste. Smashing the garlic makes it easier for you to peel it. You can use a mincer or any of the products or tools that are available inside a kitchen supply. Okay, so we have our 2 cloves of garlic. Set this aside. Now we're going to chop or mince if you'd like. You don't want too big a bite of garlic, although I'm sure there are some people who like it. Mince. And I'm going to show you something that I think you'll think is interesting. This is a mezzaluna, which means half moon in Italian. So let's use this in honor of mezzaluna. Most Italians growing up had their nonna, grandmother, in the kitchen, oftentimes, or their mother, and they would use the mezzaluna. And it acts as the perfect knife, and it's fun to use. What we're going to do is we're going to take the garlic and we're just going to put it in some oil for it to start to soften a little bit. And then this also is something that we can add on top of the pizza crust. Okay, there we go. We'll put this in here and we're going to set this aside. Okay, and now what I'm going to do is prepare the dressing for the arugula. First we're going to start with fresh lemons. Many times you're going to get a lemon that has a real thick skin. I discourage you from getting those. I think the thinner skin the lemon, the better for you, because I think that it ends up being juicier. But that's my own opinion. Squeeze it. You can also toss this into the microwave and soften a little bit. But press on it and it softens it up. Makes it a lot juicier. Next lemon. Okay, so let's cut it in half. Smells great. Okay, let's take the bowl. First, we're going to put lemon juice into the bowl. Be careful you don't want to get too many seeds in the bowl, although it's easy to take out later. You can press the juice, it'll come out on the sides, and it contains the seeds inside the half of the lemon. Or you could strain it, whatever you want to do. It's your kitchen. You can do it however you wish. Okay. Right. I like to take the salt and put the salt into the lemon juice. And the reason I like to do this, Roseanne and I both like to do this, is because we usually use either sea salt or kosher salt, which tends to be coarser. And that's the kind of salt that we like. And because of it, it's good to put the salt into the bowl with the lemon juice so it can start to dissolve. You need enough of it. You can always add more later. So this is going to dissolve. And then we're going to drizzle the olive oil into the lemon juice slowly. And while we slowly drizzle, we whisk. And it sort of creates a little bit of an emulsion. It's already thickening. Okay, we're going to add a little pepper. We like to use cracked pepper, freshly ground black pepper. And there we go. And now I'm going to talk a little bit about the arugula. Arugula is one of my favorite greens. In fact, Roseanne teases me all the time about the arugula because I'll put it on anything. Arugula has a bit of a bittery bite. It also has a little bit of almost a lemony taste to it, and this is what it looks like. And I will tell you that even when you buy it in the store and it's packaged and it says that it's been pre-washed, we always suggest that you take it home and you wash it again, and you could put it in a salad spinner and dry it out, or if you don't have one, lay it on some paper towels so that it drains and that it gets dry by the time you're going to use it. So we are going to set this aside. I don't want to put the dressing on it yet because it's going to cause the arugula to wilt. It's very fragile as it is. So let's set this aside. We're going to set our dressing aside and we're going to move on to the next step.
I'd like to begin by preheating my oven to 400 and talk for a moment about the pan that you use. Obviously, any pizza pan will do, any flatter pan such as this, any shape. What I like to do is hit the pan initially with a little cooking spray or even a little olive oil, and then what we want to do is create a space between the hot pan and the dough, almost a kind of ball bearing effect. So in restaurants, oftentimes they will use something called crisper, which really adds some space between the dough and the pan. And in our case, at home, oftentimes I'll use just a little cornmeal on a pan that has been sprayed with a cooking spray. Just hit it so you can get everything evenly distributed, and your pan is done. So let's get rid of this. My dough has been setting for a while, raising. I've got it on a nice surface. I've added some flour, and we want to get this to a reasonable shape of kind of a rectangular to fit our pan. Depending on the dough that you use, you might find a dough that has more elasticity than some. Certainly if you make your own dough will be more pliable than something that has been sitting in a refrigerator waiting to be purchased. This dough is a little tighter. And we're almost there. Okay. We're ready to put this into our pan. Okay, so now we're going to begin the task of starting to assemble our pizza. We are going to take the minced garlic that Dee Dee did earlier that has been sitting in oil and marinating, and we're going to start by just brushing the surface of our pizza dough with this oil. We want to hit everything all the way to the edge. Now, for those of you who like minced garlic on your pizza, that's fine. If not, just use the oil. There are some people who really don't like to encounter chunks of garlic. We've brushed the edges. We have a few pieces that we're going to just kind of distribute over the top. Not too much. We want to hit this with a little dusting of our cracked black pepper. And we want to start with our fresh mozzarella. When mozzarella is very fresh, it's very hard to slice. So what I did was basically just kind of chop this up in pieces that I can easily strewn across the surface of the pizza. It's sticky. You might have to play with it a little bit. But what we want is not a completely covered surface, but we want to encounter little mounds of it here and there. And you can, of course, use as much or as little as you like. But this is a white pizza, and it doesn't have a lot going on, so we want to make sure it has plenty of flavor. In addition, we're going to give this a little sprinkling of either grated Parmesan or Romano cheese, whatever you prefer. Has a little extra zip. And this pizza is ready to go into a 400-degree oven, and I'm putting it in the upper half of it. This pizza will probably take anywhere from 15 to 20 minutes. Every oven is different, depending on yours. When it's browned and bubbly, it's ready. You can test the underside of it, which we will do, to make sure that we're where we need to be. Okay, so we now have our pizza that has come out of the pan. What I want to do is show you what this should look like underneath. You don't want it to burn. It should be nicely browned on the bottom. And you've got kind of a toasted, crunchy bottom on there. So everything has melded together, and this pizza is done. So what we're going to do now is we're going to start shredding by hand our prosciutto and laying it right across the top. We're not even going to cut this, because what I did was I put these slices in the freezer while this was in the oven so that this would be easier to handle. And I'm hand shredding it. It's very, very thin, as we know prosciutto is. And I'm laying this across the top of our pizza. They will slice this for you thinly, and they usually put pieces of butcher paper in between the slices, because once it starts to warm up, it gets very sticky and will turn into glue right before your eyes. So what we want to do is just shred this by hand. So we're going to finish up with these last slices. We want to cover the whole surface of our pizza. And because we're putting this on the hot pizza, what we're doing is really kind of letting it melt a little bit. The flavors are going to intensify on this. So here we are with our prosciutto-topped pizza, and we're ready to top it with our dressed arugula.
Okay, so the dressing's been sitting for a little while, so we are going to just do one more whisk. However, because you did some kind of an emulsified stirring of sorts, it's not going to separate like oil and vinegar would separate if you had a vinaigrette. You'll notice that. But I still give it a little stir nonetheless. We already have salt and pepper. Now what we're going to do is we're going to drizzle the arugula with the dressing. You don't want to drown it. Don't want it soggy. Toss it. Give it a toss. There we go. And naturally, you have to give a taste. And the reason you're giving a taste is because you want to know if you want to add salt or pepper. I think a little pepper. And Roseanne, would you like to come and toss the arugula on top of the pizza?
Sure. A little more pepper, did you
I think we'll do both salt and pepper once we have it perhaps on the pizza. Okay.
So what we want to start doing, quite frankly, I think your hands work better.
It's much easier.
And we want to start laying the arugula out, distributing it as evenly as we can, making sure that our whole pizza is able to hold some of this tasty, Edie's favorite. Okay, Dee.
Okay.
What do you think?
We'll do another
A little more salt and pepper.
A little more salt, a little more cracked pepper, and there we go.
Okay.
Here we have it. We're going to slide this onto the cutting board.
And we're going to start slicing.
Okay, so the pizza Bianca makes a wonderful first course. It's a great appetizer. Certainly you would cut into smaller pieces if you wanted to have it as an appetizer, because these pieces are large.
We love pairing this with our winter soup, which is escarole, beans, sausage with a tomato base. And The flavors marry beautifully, they complement each other, and we hope that you'll try this one at home. You can see for yourself that it isn't very hard to do. It comes together very easily, and we hope that you'll enjoy it as much as we do and as our class does also.
Thank you so much.
Buon appetito.